Meet Linda Cereda, a visionary leader with 20 years of experience. At Nike, she drives digital transformation and consumer innovation. With roots at Goldman Sachs and BCG and an MBA from Columbia, she's redefining marketing and retail for tomorrow.
So we're here today with Linda Cereda, and she just gave a great talk around customer loyalty at Nike and how she's been able to build it amongst this really rabid Nike fan base. I'd love to hear more about that, and you tell us on how Nike is adopting AI and AI in its very broad sense.
Yeah, so I think it's just to give a bit of a background myself. I lead marketing data, so I've been like 15 years, and I pretty done all the function in my life between retail, GM, marketplace, and now data. And the reason why I say that is introduction because I'm not a data engineering or a data scientist. What I've done in my life is connect data process people to drive consumer and business outcome. So maybe the one of the thing that just given this context is one of the application of the AI we've done. It's in the machine learning for prediction, which clearly is not everything that that Nike does in AI. But one example that may be just very tangible, it's on the sneakers. I don't know if you love our special Jordan, but sneakers, it's an app where you are trying to cope high shoes. And typically it's a very interesting model because we underserve demand. So you get into the draw, you might win or might not. And what happened in that business is that, 10 years ago, people used to queue up in front of Mercer 21st, pack their tent and wait. So the demand was constrained by the physical ability of how much a curbside could do. When we launched a sneakers app, the demand became exponentially bigger. So, talking about a few million active engaged users. So one of the problems we created with that is that fairness was a big thing. Like people felt that they never win and they get pissed off at Nike to the point there was like a hashtag I am upset movement on social media. So clearly we started from a business problem, and that's where kind of we start using ML and AI to help kind of alleviating some of the problem. And I think the point we try to do is like, we know we're going to sell the shoes. It's not about selling out. It's about selling to the right members. How you define the right members. So we use a couple of things. One is the most engaged. The poor guy was tried for 17 times. And then the second piece is more, what are the members where we think they will get the biggest uplift in revenue and engagement after they get an offer. And I think this is very human. Imagine you're so pissed at Nike because you never get your shoes that you don't even want to buy your training top. So that was the idea. So we work with the ML engineering team, and then they develop a very sophisticated model with 55 variables, zero-party data, first-party data, all with permission. And we basically start ranking them for fairness engagement score. And we allocated a small percentage of unit as a early access, so early, before the official launch, to reward member that they would deserve. Of course, the rest of the business was still done, normal open lottery. And what we did there, we saw redemption was very high, it was above 90%. So we clearly picked the right people. And then the second thing is we saw an uplift in revenue and engagement in the 30, 60, 90 days. So again, I'm not disclosing the number, but I think there was significant significance. And again, it's like, once you win, you start to love Nike again. And you get, when you have to buy your cleats for your son, you want to get a pair of Nike. So that's a concrete example of how we use MI.
Yeah, and I think you are the poster child of someone who might not be a data person, but still can leverage the power of data, the power of these AI algorithms that give you that intelligence and allow you to segment your market and figure out who that really ravenous fan base for Nikes and how you can entice them to buy more Nike products in the future. So love that you're doing that, and it's very cool in that you're bringing that to life from a marketing perspective. Now, what are some of those techniques that you saw that did work, that were very relevant in building that success story?
Yeah, I think to me is like the way I talk about, because I came from a business background, is like, first of all, you want to start from a real business problem. Sometimes people talk about AI for AI's sake. And then the second piece is about like, don't overthink about the tool, meaning the best tool. And what I mean is, like every day there is a best model, a more predictable model, a cheaper model. Literally every morning you read your AI daily and there is something. But the point is that you don't get the best ROI from the best tool. You get the best ROI if you have an appropriate tool to your use case tight and with the organizational processes, the people, the data literacy, the change manager. And I think to go back to the Nike example, what we did, we took literally the ML and the data science team and we plugged them into the seasonal process of Nike. So we created a gate where before they launch the season, we would sit down with the merchandising, the brand team, the geo and ML team, looking at the calendar and say, which are the launches where we want to start training the model on. And before the ML team was not able to do it just because they didn't know who to talk to, where to go. It's a very complex machine. So by simply going to like adding a process and having the right people talk to each other, we went from like 2 tests a quarter to like a 70-ish. And of course, that's how you train a model. And then the other piece was education. Like there was a lot of question around why I should trust this black box machine compared to my judgment. I am an experienced brand manager. I want to target the 22 years old woman in Tokyo. So we had to do a lot of education to explain what is an ML model, how you build it, and just prove that that works better than a business judgment. But that was a lot of effort. So to me, I think it's the way I think about it. You have a car. First of all, you need a 500 or a Ferrari. If you need to drop your kid to school and do a grocery shopping, you maybe the 500 is enough. But then you need the fuel, which is the data. You need a driving license, which is a permission. You need a pilot, which is a people, and you need the trucks to drive it. So it's the orchestration of process, people, and tools to basically get value out of the tool itself.
Yes. And building that culture at Nike, how difficult was that to ensure that everyone was on the same page? Because it sounds to me like you literally are jumping straight into, hey, we're going right into production. We're going to start deploying this. We're not going to wait for permission. We're not going to wait for, hey, let's POC this to death. Let's just do this. How did you drive that culture at?
Yeah, honestly, that was the most difficult part to do. I think it's like try to change manager. Again, people have been doing the work and they have great marketers. So like we are not, we are best in class. So like it's very difficult to change the culture. And I think to me, that was making like the very important point is to enable the right conversation and explain like why do you need to trust the machine, right? So there was a lot of like make sure people were not like, oh, we just tell you to train this model. No, it's like let me explain you why, and also like help me choose which are the best launches or we should train it based on the unit you have. Like so there was a very strong partnership eventually to make sure you're not like telling people to do the work, but just explaining, even co-creating what would be the learning agenda for this launch for the model perspective.
Hmm. Was the secret then to be able to have publishable results that people were, was that the convincing
Yeah, so
factor?
one of the things we did is that we wanted to give back to the people, the team that basically offer to help, and as you can imagine, every launch takes preparation. What we were doing the end of the quarter a hindsighting, and we were show the result, and then even like comparing. This is what happened in China. This is what happened in EMEA. This is what happened in US. And sometimes you learn, for example, the resale value was much more important for conversion in China than in Nigeria. So you try to like, you know, extract the insight in a way which is easy for people to understand, so they feel they're not just helping you, but they're also giving something back as a return.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long journey. It's not easy.
Yes. And how much marketing data did you pull in to help you formulate that overall picture of your
Yeah,
customer
so
base?
we have a lot, as you can imagine, we have a lot of active members, so we don't have scarcity. We have a lot of data. So I think for us was like clickstream data, of course, transaction data. And I think for the sneakers app specifically, we also have quite a lot of zero-party data, use polling. So that's the most, probably the highest value data because the consumer is actually giving you like, do you like to rock these shoes or these shoes? And this is kind of what you see in the feed. And there was, of course, additional information for like this profile and things like that. And so again, we are lucky because it's a brand with a lot of engagement. So we don't need to, people are very happy to give us data. Of course, if you do something in return.
Yes. And you're right. I think Nike already has this international brand and cachet around with it. But would you have any advice for others that might not have that brand? How do you build that buzz? How do you build that loyalty amongst your customer base?
Well, I think it starts with like knowing your customer, what do they really care, and what do they really want, and make sure that whatever you do is like customer right. So what are the needs? What do you try to serve? Is the customer try to save time for us experience? So like grocery shopping, I want to shop quickly and I want to have something which is, appropriate price for the time. So like what is the consumer problem you're trying to solve? Again, this example, Nike sneakers was fairness, but we use ML for like optimizing the right frequency, the right time, the right channel as any other retailer would do.
So, Linda, tell us about what excites you most about AI and all of its developments.
Yeah, I think the way I think about AI is almost like three phases. You can have AI for efficiency. You can have, of course, you do things cheaper. You can have AI for effectiveness, do better things. And then you can use AI for new operating model. And I think the conversation over the last like, year and a half has been a lot of like efficiency. And of course, you have the bots. You can do things faster. You can create 1,000 versions of the same, the content for different people. But I think to me, I think it's a couple of areas where I'm very excited is one is if you think about the way we do marketing, we have, think about the churn prevention. You test a model, you A/B test it, you train it, you scale it. And you want to optimize the content, A/B test it, and you scale it. You want to optimize the frequency. It's a great process, but it's very long. You need to A/B test. It's very laborious process. And I think it's now I see more companies shifting from ML for prediction to like AI decisioning. So in this case, for example, churn, I would say I want to focus on increasing the reactivation, the churn reactivation score. And I want to move three variables: content, the subject line, and the frequency. And then you let the machine pick in the best combination for you, not for the cluster. So first of all, it's one-to-one. And then of course, you don't need to set up multiple A/B tests because it's a multivariated test. And then this is based on reinforcement learning because you give rewards. When it's good, the machine learning is good, and you continue. So this way would save, if you think about investment from people, the testing, it's dramatically different. And of course, it's really personal one-on-one. It's not based on the 80% of people that like the variant A versus variant B. So that's one. And then the other one, it's the use of synthetic data from the beginning of a process of creation to the launch. And there's a company I've been reading about, it's called NotCo. They created like not milk, not custard, and it's a plant-based product. And what they claim they've done is that they haven't touched a human. They start to have insight to generate synthetic data. They start to test recipe and let them test synthetic data, test, basically test the product, test the campaign, and then they go live. And they claim they were able to like do some food product in 4 months of development from beginning to the end. So if I think about how that would impact a company like Nike or any product retailer, it's from using synthetic persona for again trend and creation of product, testing of product. That's a very different way of working, which can probably shrink your process like to less than maybe a third. And that to me is a very transformational use of AI, which is again it's efficient, it's effective, but it's also like a different way of working, which can generate hopefully a lot of returns.
And it's very powerful to use that synthetic data and makes your life a lot easier as well, that you
It's
don't
not
have to
just
go and collect
ChatGPT.
it.
There's much more than that. Or DeepSeek or whatever new model you can have today.
And so how do you see driving that adoption into the company? How are you going about doing that? And
Yeah, I think it's a phase approach. I think it's good to like you don't want to keep moving. So I think it's good to like cement the learning we had in the first phase, and then when you think about new pattern, new idea, is like what is the right way to do it? Do you want to do it internally? Do you want to have event or like these are conversation that you can start having. But again, it's any phase and you change it. Why we just learn how to do A/B testing? Why we need to move away? So I think it's a lot of like education. And of course, start small. You're not gonna transform a company. And as you can imagine, it's a machine of how you go to market. But start small and then just prove whether it works. A lot of the things is a lot of case study I read. I don't know how relatable they are, but it sounds very promising.
yes. And I love your energy around this, and I love how you have driven this in at Nike, where we've heard from so many customers that are really waiting for that perfect tool, that perfect approach. And that's the problem. That's the analysis paralysis that a lot of companies are at. But again, with the way that you just jump right in and tackle the problem, I
And they
think
just do
that's
it.
just
I think that maybe the final thoughts on that one is that again I go back to the process people tools like the speed of deployment. It's depending on the speed of the lowest common denominator. And what I mentioned that like you can have 7,000 pieces of different variation of content in an hour, but if your way you create content is 6 months, just to make a random example, is on Nike time, it's like something need to change. So like if you again the tool can go very fast, but the process is not there. So like eventually you need to think about the three of them together. And then that's going to set the speed of development. And then again, don't wait for the Ferrari. You can have a 500.
Yes.
If it's, depending what you need to do. If you need to run the Formula One, you need a Ferrari, but not forever.
Okay, okay. But we want to hear about your AI life hack that is a Ferrari. What do you do that that you just love?
So, well, it's funny. We fixed the heating with ChatGPT. It was a Saturday afternoon, freezing weather. We took a picture of the error.
Yeah.
We first called the plumber, which could only come on Wednesday. Then we sent a picture and we were able to actually fix it on ourselves. And then we had to tell the plumber that we used ChatGPT to fix the heating. And it was a very interesting conversation, but that's one. And then I throw, when I have like 3 carrots, two potato, and 1 zucchini, what can I cook for family of 4?
I love it. Thank you so much, Linda. It was a pleasure to have you.
Likewise.